Brzezinski's been such a busy technocrat his whole life in geopolitics, helping start up wars. He was the first guy in to stir up those in Afghanistan to get the Soviets to invade them and bog them down in their Vietnam War. That was his idea. He admitted that in an interview on television. He didn't care about thousands getting killed and slaughtered. That wasn't relevant. Psychopath, you see. But he says here in his book, Between Two Ages, remember he was the former National Security Advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski. It says, technology will make available to the leaders of major nations, in 1970 this book was written, techniques for conducting secret warfare of which only a bare minimum of security forces need be appraised. Techniques of weather modification could be employed to produce prolonged periods of drought or storm. And that's what they did. They did that, you see, during the 80s and 90s and put most of the farmers in Canada and the West and the breadbasket of the US out of business, then in came the big agribusinesses, and lo and behold, they had nice weather. Wonderful, isn't it? Zbigniew Brzezinski is also the former National Security Advisor and co-founder of the Trilateral Commission, with David Rockefeller serving as a director from 73 to 76. Here's what he said from his book Between Two Ages, page 57. But he's talking about a system that we're going to bring in, a system that would seriously impair the brain performance of very large populations. In addition, future developments may well include automated or manned space warships, DC installations, chemical or biological weapons, death rays, and still other forms of warfare. Even the weather may be tampered with. Back with more after this break. Hi folks, I am Alan Watt. We're cutting through the matrix. Just finishing off with some quotes from some of the big players, those who did crave power and did get it, the technocrats, those with the real power, as Professor Carol Quigley said, the real power behind the scenes. They're not answerable to the public, and they work for the parallel government, getting things done. Getting things done. They never retire. And this is from Brzezinski's book, Between Two Ages, written in 1970. 1970. He said here, in addition, it may be possible and tempting to exploit for strategic political purposes the fruits of research on the brain and on human behavior. It says Gordon J.F. MacDonald, a geophysicist specializing in problems of warfare, has written that timed artificially excited electronic strokes could lead to a pattern of oscillations that produce relatively high power levels over certain regions of the Earth. In this way, one could develop a system that would seriously impair the brain performance of very large populations in selected regions over an extended period. No matter how deeply disturbing the thought of using the environment to manipulate behavior for national advantages to some, the technology permitting such use will very probably develop within the next few decades. Well, you see, when he wrote that, it was already under development. And today, it's working. It's being used. It is being used. He also said, in a footnote on page 57, techniques for conducting secret warfare. It says, as one specialist noted, by the year 2018, technology will make available to leaders of the major nations a variety of techniques for conducting secret warfare, of which only a bare minimum of the security forces need be appraised. One nation may attack a competitor covertly by bacterial means, thoroughly weakening the population, though with a minimum of fatalities, before taking over with its own armed forces. Alternatively, techniques of weather modification could be employed to produce prolonged periods of drought or storm. So these characters really have been going on forever. Here's what else Brzezinski says. The Technetronic Era involves the gradual appearance of a more controlled society. Well, that's your cameras, that's the towers going up that pulse your brains and all the rest of it. It says, such a society would be dominated by an elite, unrestrained by traditional values. In other words, nothing to do with democracy. This is post-democracy. That's what you're in right now. Soon it will be possible to assert almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and maintain up-to-date complete files containing even the most personal information about the citizen. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities. The authorities. Quite something, eh? Quite something. You know, when Brzezinski was asked about, because he did stir up the whole he helped create the whole mess in Afghanistan, to create a Vietnam for the Soviets to come into and get bogged down in. And when he was asked if he thought it was worth it, or felt guilty about having done so, he denied it. He says, no, regret what? That secret operation was an excellent idea. It drew them in, it trapped them. He says, you want me to regret it? The day that the Soviets officially crossed the borders, he says, so what? He says, if it stirred up and caused a few Muslims to be killed, so what? He says, so what? That's the monsters who are running this world, and we're the next Muslims, believe you me, when they're finished over there.